Kanye West on the Holocaust. I can't believe it, but we're going to watch it. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Who's ready to have a good time today?
Technology and original human species can exist in a peaceful way, as long as the people that know how to make robots aren't using their robots to control the humans. Lex?
You could argue that social media algorithms are already controlling people. I think that you could make a strong argument for that.
It definitely is something you have to be concerned about as we become more technologically savvy. That, my friend, is why engineering isn't everything. That you have to desperately study the lessons of history. In Nazi Germany, science was used to create atrocities. Engineering, the same. Engineering could be a tool of war.
We're still in the Holocaust.
What?
A Jewish friend of mine said, go visit the Holocaust Museum. And my response was, let's visit our Holocaust Museum, Planned Parenthood.
With all due respect, I grew up in the Soviet Union. I'm Jewish. Parts of my family perished in the Holocaust of Nazi Germany. I have to push back that there is a difference of the atrocities at that scale, at that time, on an entire people.
I was going to say the number. That's the difference.
It's not the number.
Because 6 million will also...
Oh, no. Uh-oh. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Yep. The 6 million will also...
African Americans are actually Jew also. The lost tribe of Israel.
Push back.
Oh, God. So that one guy in chat was right. This is like maybe like the black Israelite thing? Is that it? Holy shit.
And that too.
Okay, so well, everyone came from Africa.
I am African. I'm basically African American. We're brothers.
And we're both Jew. And we're brothers. So
we're human.
6 million people died in the Holocaust. Over 20 million have died by the hands of abortion. And the media promotes the...
I will be honest. I'm surprised the number wasn't debated. I was fully expecting the number to be called into question. That's totally what I said. He says, well, actually, that's 100% what I was expecting to see happen.
My Body, My Choice, which is actually still a promotion for Planned Parenthood. 50% of black deaths a year is actually abortion. It's not the cop with the knee. It's not black on black violence and gang violence. It's not heart attacks. It's actually abortion. The most dangerous place for a black person in America is in their mother's stomach.
There's 900 to 1 million abortions in the United States a year. I hear you.
That's a lot.
But there's something about the rape.
I am not a fan. Like, I don't think that it's fair to compare. Like, this is kind of an odd thing, right? Because, like, so Kanye West is, like, very clearly super fucking religious, right? He did a whole album. It was a gospel album. It was the one before fucking the most recent one, I'm pretty sure. And before Donda. And he was really, I mean, Jesus Walks, right? And I mean, like, Jesus Walks, this was in like 2004, I believe. So it's not like this is a new thing, but the level of it is definitely new. So I don't like the idea that the Holocaust is the same as Planned Parenthood. I really, really don't like that idea. I think that's just it's the same thing by saying like, oh, we're all Jewish in a way, because it kind of, in my opinion, it further, not invalidates, what's the word for it? It further, like, kind of just muddies the water between the people that were actually, dilutes it. That's a good word. It dilutes the the horror of that and the fact that it was inflicted on specific people. It's kind of like saying, oh, well, you can't be racist because there's people that, it's the human race. Like, yes, obviously, this is true if you want to look at it in that perspective. However, this is not necessarily what people are saying. It's like almost willful ignorance, in my opinion. Yeah, they're not comparable. Here we go. He's trying to gloss over the specifics. Exactly. Here we go.
The torture, the murder of children, women, men, the complete humiliation, and just the suffering that was endured during World War II.
That's what we deal with on our TVs right now with black people. Soros would use black trauma.
He's talking about George Soros.
Economy to win an election. And what I love is having a healthy conversation. And
I feel like what he kind of does there is like you can easily go and say that George Soros is trying to influence the election and stuff like that. But I mean, unless you come out with receipts and stuff like that about it, I feel like you can't just make an assumption or like assert something like that and then just be like, yeah, and another thing. It's not like you just move to the next point. That's kind of a big thing.
Posted, there's certain things, boom, this drops.
And isn't George Soros also Jewish? I don't remember. It's been so long. I'm pretty sure. Yes, he is. Yeah. Okay, that is. Yeah, he was involved with like the guy's like a fucking like 300 years old or something like that. So he was around during the Holocaust.
People gonna have pussy hats on. Boom, this drops. It's gonna be black people and
92?
white people with
Yeah,
signs. Boom, this drops. So hey, China, hey, left agenda, hey, what we're gonna do is say that our species can have a healthy conversation. Can
I just linger on this? Because when you say Jewish media,
here we go.
There's a echo of a pain that people feel that reminds
you're saying it's redundant, right?
No, I'm not saying it's redundant. I'm saying
it's redundant.
You're saying it's redundant.
It's a redundant
I'm saying
statement.
it's something I'm saying that it's something that Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister of Nazi Germany, said. I'm saying it's been said so many times in order to murder and torture Jewish people that it just rings wrong.
And that's the
just
thing.
like the N word when spoken by people that have the same skin color as me, it reminds people of a very dark time.
I know. If Jewish people would accept that I'm Jew, then they would see what I'm saying in a different way. They would.
I find that this is just like a. I think this is kind of like somebody saying that they are like African American if they're from like South Africa or something, and they're white and they're from South Africa, and they like really try to push this point. Like, yes, this is technically true, but whenever we're saying this, we're not necessarily talking about white people. Do you see kind of what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's an intentional obfuscation. Technically, it is true. Yes, and this is what I'm saying, right? Is it technically. Like, I don't know Kanye's heritage. I don't know where he's from. Maybe he could be fucking Jewish somewhere back, like, 500 years ago. Who knows? But what I do know is that, I mean, he had nothing to do with, like, any of the people that were involved in the Holocaust, as far as I fucking know. So it's kind of weird for him to try to put himself in that basket.
Hear it in a different way.
But see, the people, you saying you're Jewish,
No, I'm Jew, not Jewish. Jewish means like that of a Jew. I'm saying I'm Jew.
You're a Jew.
Blood of Christ.
That
Orthodox
comes from,
Christian.
Right. But are you are you a follower of the philosophy of the black Hebrew Israelites? Because that's where the idea comes from.
I'm surprised you knew that.
All of those folks are extremists, but some are extremists.
I'm a follower of the idea. I have a vague idea that all people came from Africa. But what I wanted to do now I could Andy Kaufman this about 7 more minutes and then tell you what it is, what the whole point is.
Let's count 7 minutes.
No,
do less.
I did this to do a spoiler alert.
Sure, spoiler.
Okay.
What's the first thing I said at the beginning?
We're talking about engineering and humans. We're all
And I
human.
said, and then what did I say we shouldn't focus on?
Race,
Not just that. I said they shouldn't teach this in school.
history.
The history, because what they do, what schools are doing is exactly what the CIA does with Pixar films and Disney films. They make Bambi's mom die in the beginning, right? And off that pain comes a purchase of ice cream. Off that pain comes, I need some more toys. Off that pain comes, I need a bigger house. Off that pain comes, I need more girls than my wife. Off that pain comes,
Bro, I'm gonna be honest. Like back whenever we learned about like slavery and some of this other shit, like this is what everybody thought, right? I remember this was like, man, we must have been like almost in high school, and like we had this one guy in our school who was like a neo-Nazi, and I remember like I was talking to it with like some of my friends, and like a lot of my friends weren't white either, right? And like I thought like, man, I was a kid. I was like, man, they fucking like we won the Civil War. That's it. The racism shit is over. Like they got rid of slavery. It is what it is. Bro, the school was so fucking bad for us. This didn't even happen. Yeah, this never happened at all.
so they put that pain in to make us, now we're the orphans of capitalism, to make us be consumers. And we need to be a community, not just consumers.
I think the idea that like you shouldn't teach kids about what happened is fucking stupid, because what that turns into is that people don't want to teach the things that make them look bad, but they do want to teach the things that do make them look good. So yeah, I don't like this at all. Like you have to teach people what actually happened. And this has been a big issue many times in history, right? Whether you're teaching about, something in World War II. Like, listen, as an example, the bombing of Dresden wasn't in our fucking textbooks, okay? But there was a million fucking pages about the invasion of Normandy, or, how we stopped Hitler or something like that. So yeah, I think that it's like also, a big reason of why Hitler lost is because of the fucking Stalin, right? I mean, that's a big fucking reason. He marched his forces over there, everybody died. That's just what happens. But, if you went to school here, you would learn that it's because of us. It's because of the U.S. Yeah, it's a two-front war. Yeah, he was fighting a two-front war. I mean, he made the same mistake Napoleon made like 150 years before him, right? Napoleon did the exact same thing.
So I could have went another 7 minutes by being a person who presents himself in a way that says, well, I don't have to feel your pain because I also have pain too that's not being recognized. And in every interview, when I say, well, why did I get to the point of putting up the tweet? No one wants to understand why I got to that point, right?
You had pain.
Yeah, but no one.
Pain in your heart.
But
I don't like that, because whenever somebody has pain, it doesn't mean that you get to just go do and say whatever you want to somebody else, right? I think that's a little bit unfair. Like whenever somebody has like a bad day, or you're in pain, or you feel like you've been let down or you've been mistreated, I think that you go and you put that on somebody else. I don't think that's really fair.
Let's say this. Undoubtedly, Jewish people have a lot of movies about that pain, and black people have a lot of movies about the pain of slavery, right?
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to find a movie about Mansa Musa. When you go to the...
Who's Mansa Musa? I'm not sure who that is. Yeah, I have no idea. African king of old? Do your research? Yeah, I had no idea. Richest king in history, African king? Fuck. That's nuts. Yeah, I think we need a movie about that for sure. Like, the only African movie that I know of that would be kind of like that is fucking Shaka Zulu. Like, I remember we watched this, like, on the fucking... Like, I watched this at my neighbor's house, Sean and Dylan's mom's house. We watched this, like, back in the early 2000s.
African History Museum in Washington, D.C., it doesn't start with the idea of Africans being kings. It starts with the idea of Africans being slaves. But here's another interesting.
I think that's a good point. I do think that's a good point. Is that, talking about the history, like a better African history that's not told through the context of American slavery or European slavery or something like that. And I can see how definitely, you go through like the history of, like, let's say you're a white guy, right? You're from Scotland, or you're from Germany, or, like some other place, England. You can pretty well tell, like, kind of where you came from. And it's like, oh, well, there's guys like fucking Charlemagne, or people like, I don't know, there's like a million people like Napoleon, all of these famous people that were, very powerful and, successful in, antiquity times. And if you're black, I think it's a lot harder to find those different figures unless they're in the context of like American slavery or something like that, or it's very contemporary. It's like in the past 150 years. You've got a handful of them, right? You've got people like Frederick Douglass, etc. But I think that it's certainly, I think this is certainly a good point. Mandela. No, yeah. It's not that they're, but Mandela, I said Frederick Douglass because, like, that guy's fucking old, right? Mandela, this was like, what, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, something like that. Asian too. I mean, is that really true? I mean, I think that there's a lot of, I feel like Asian history is often kind of changed a lot. I think that people do what they do with like Viking history with Asian history, where they take some of the real names and some of the real people, and then they put them in fictional situations and settings. Do you guys kind of agree with that? I feel like that's kind of what's happened. You mean Chinese history? Yeah, I was talking about Chinese history in some cases. There's also Japanese history, Korean history, sure. Yeah, grain of salt, how pre-written history usually works. Yeah. Anime does that a lot. That's what I'm kind of saying. Yeah.
Point about this was said to me one time, and it stuck with me as a family member of mine. With Africans, how many times you've heard like a rapper, talk about we were kings?
Oh boy.
That's incorrect. If we're Jew. If we're Jew, and since we are, we weren't the kings. We were the slaves that Moses freed. Africans have always said, you've listened to rap music and hear black people say, we kings, we blood of the pharaohs.
Oh, geez.
And if we are Jew, then we weren't. We were the people that Moses freed. And when we talk about, have you heard black people talk about 400 years of slavery? Mm-hmm. All right. That is and we're having this history lesson, right?
I thought history doesn't matter. You're exploring ancient history and drawing deep wisdom from it. And at the same time saying we need to forget all of it. We need to put that behind us.
Absolutely. We need to forget it and we need to move forward.
There's so much wisdom to draw from history. Even the 20th century. Look at this. Communism. Without the lessons of history of the 20th century, communism sounds like a great idea. Except that
it still does on Twitter.
Some of the worst atrocities conducted by Stalin and Mao that killed 50, 100 plus million people.
I am not a subscriber to the idea that communism has some sort of exclusive mandate on killing people. I think that all social systems and all forms of government and society kill other people because people kill other people. Communism is just one flavor of it.
Not just killed, tortured, starvation, where people, cannibalism, they ate each other. They ate their children. There's just dark people should read some books on this, on the Holocaust in the 1930s.
But I disagree.
With that lesson, we would, and now it's becoming more popular. Marxism and communism.
I'm not disagreeing that happened. I'm disagreeing that we need to harp on the things that happened, because the truth is, I'm giving a fact. 50% today of, let's say you don't call black people Jew, right? black people's deaths today is abortion today, right now. Like that, it's not.
I don't think that that's a problem to talk to people about at all. I don't think that's an issue. Yeah, that's okay. Sure. I mean, I would say that in general, in terms of like social studies and like history, I think that history should be taught more in a context of how things are today. As like working history is kind of like, oh, well, you know, this is what happened back then, and now we see things that are happening now. It's like, I remember whenever I was in school, we didn't really learn about like contemporary history and like how to view things like government, economics, etc. We didn't even learn that until we were in like senior year. I think that history should be much more often contextualized around contemporary and current events. It's like, I found it a problem, right? It's like you get your fucking history book. How many of you guys got your history book and you graduated in the 2010s or late 2000s, and the last chapter was about how things are going to change whenever Bill Clinton takes office? Yeah, I think that's an issue.
Racism, that's too wide of a term. It's genocide and population control that black people are in today in America.
I think you can easily say that it could be genocide, right? If you look at it from the perspective that life begins at contraception and, you know, or not, that's the opposite. Life begins at, what's the word for it? Fuck. Well, not contraception, conception. Yeah, that's the right one. Sorry, I messed that one up. And so anyway, yeah, like if you look at it that way and you think that like people are killing babies and shit whenever they're having abortions, then yeah, you can say that's something like a genocide. To say that it's population control, though, I don't like that, because population control indicates an agenda, and it indicates an agenda that's top down. And I think that by indicating a top down agenda in that way, I think that it does lead people to conspiracies, right? George Soros type conspiracies, etc. Because the fact is that all these people that are having abortions are doing this in their own free will. They're not being influenced by this or told to do this by some fucking higher up. This is just, you know, they had unprotected sex, they can't afford to take care of the kid, and so they have a fucking abortion. That's it. It's not that complicated. People are controlling their own population. Yes, but whenever you say population control, what is the best example that we can think of population control that was legitimate? China's one-child policy. And that is by the government. You see what I'm saying? So, like, whenever you say, like, fucking COVID, good one. So whenever you say, like, population control, I think that it very, very much indicates a top-down agenda. COVID vaccine? Hell yeah, brother. And any purebloods in here?
That is promoted by the music and the media that black people make, that Jewish.
I do think, oh, here we go. I do think that music, I find it to be very odd that music somehow never really gets the same scrutiny. Like, growing up listening to NWA, I feel like I feel like there's a lot of lessons in those songs. I loved Eazy-E, right? I did. I was such a fucking fan. NWA, yeah, absolutely, man. And yeah, music can say anything. It can, but I think that a lot of people interpret music and they try to, you know, it's life imitating art. Absolutely. Straight out of Austin, yeah.
Record labels get paid off of, or media companies. Record labels and media company also, so let's give it a wider.
You know, I agree with Martin Luther King.
Let me go back.
I want to go
back 10 seconds.
Record labels get paid off of, or media companies. Record labels and media company also, so let's give it a wider.
You know, I agree with Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
I have a dream too.
Martin Luther
that
King
one day you would not be judged by the color of your skin or your race, black or Jew, but by the content of your character. All the assholes that fucked you over in the music industry, fuck artists over in the music industry, are individuals.
Yeah, they're greedy fucks. I think, yeah, that's really what they are. They're just greedy fucks. They don't care if you're black, white, Mexican, Asian. They don't give a fuck. They're gonna steal your shit and steal your money. Doesn't matter what you are.
They're not Jews. Can you
they are Jewish.
it doesn't. There.
The reason why I don't like this argument is that I think this argument can be implied with a number of other things that I also think are disingenuous. So, for example, just because a large amount of people that are holding some position of power are part of a group doesn't mean that group of people is acting in unison for the advancement of said group. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily, their interests converge or that they have some sort of agenda in general, right? Like white men. Yeah, it's like, I think that a lot of people would, like, if you looked at it from a perspective as like people that think that like, oh, it's a white supremacy conspiracy to hold people down, etc., because like police or like the government, etc., people would usually view that as being kind of a bad thing. And I think this is kind of the same thing. It's just being applied to Jewish people. And I think that any time that like any group of people is all part of the same group, people assume that they're working together or they're thinking together or somehow their interests are converging in their behavior. And I think they use that as a way to demonize the entire group whenever it's oftentimes just individuals working in their own self-interest. Yeah, they're acting on the interests of capitalism, not Judaism. That is basically what I'm saying. Yes.
Human with opportunities, and they took those opportunities. I don't care if they're Jewish.
Do you feel like I should release that pain and separate it?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're saying I should release that pain and separate it, then I'm telling you should release your pain and separate it, and we could get to this. I
think that like separating pain and releasing pain, like what we're talking about are like these are emotional things. I think that if you really want to have an honest conversation about something, somebody feeling a certain way isn't always valid or justified. So like, for example, if you get robbed by somebody who's black or something like that, or somebody who's, like this is what happened. I think this is a good example of it. It's like during COVID, right? You had a lot of times where Asian people would get attacked because people thought they were responsible for COVID. Well, everybody was feeling pain from COVID. But just because you feel a certain way, it doesn't justify an action. And you can think whatever you want to think. It's a free country. You have absolute autonomy to think whatever you want to think. But the moment that comes out of your mouth, you have to somehow defend it. And I think people also have the ability to criticize it. You see kind of what I'm saying? Yeah, no Asian person ever attacked in my town. Good for you. Yeah, it happened in other places though. I heard that like the amount of like Asian hate crimes went up by like 2,000% during COVID. I could be wrong on the numbers, but it was a lot. So yeah, it happened a lot in New York. Yeah, I think that's what it would be. It was bad. Learning that I can defend it is important, and people in power found it inconvenient. I think that what really matters is that you can have any opinion that you want, but don't be surprised whenever people don't respect your opinion if you can't justify it. I think that's fair.
List of how you are being with engineering opportunities.
That's 100%. I see what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing. The pain, I'm going to let it go. Engineering challenges. I get it.
I would argue that I think it's a kind of bad logic to use the idea that to equate something negative, like let's say the abortions, for example, to equate that with the with like abortions and the Holocaust. I feel like it's almost like these two things can't be true. You can't ask somebody to get rid of the pain that the Holocaust has if you're trying to use other things and use the pain that the Holocaust brought them as a benchmark to explain your pain. Do you see kind of what I'm saying? It's like, I want to use your benchmark, but I don't want you to use your benchmark. Yeah, it's all transferred down. Yeah, I can see so. And Holocaust was eugenics. Abortion can be eugenics too if forced. Yeah, they used to force abortions. They don't do that anymore. They aren't even comparable. I don't think that they are, but what I'm saying is that making the comparison and then using one as a baseline for the other is as a matter to like compare severity. You can't go and do that and then at the same time use that as the baseline. Kanye has no personal responsibility, blaming others for giving him opportunity and taking a risk on him. I think that Kanye is probably just very unhappy with the record industry. I think this has been a big issue. Didn't he try to buy all of his masters back from Columbia Records? On top of that, I mean, this guy's been fucked with for like his entire life by the paparazzi, people constantly dealing with this shit, annoying him, trying to take... And like Kanye's brought a lot of this on himself, right? Whether it was the Taylor Swift thing, George Bush doesn't care about black people, or, this stuff now. He's been doing this the whole time. This guy loves to fucking talk. He loves to talk shit. And I think that's why people like him. But I think that he's totally off base with the comparing the, the abortions with the Holocaust. I really think this is uncalled for. And we will watch this entire interview because I do think I like Kanye West a lot. And it's like, it's hard to say that in this context, but I've been a fan of Kanye ever since I was fucking taking the bus to school in freshman year of high school, listening to Jesus Walks and Gold Digger. Like, bro, like, I've been listening to this guy for the better part of my life. I think Kanye West is a musical fucking genius. So yes, I'm a big fan. I wish more people would talk about different issues that are complex like this and be open about them, because I think that it's better to get ideas like this out into the open, like George Soros, like abortion being the same as the Holocaust. I think actually it's a good thing to talk about this kind of stuff because this kind of a guy, somebody like Kanye West is represented in hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions of people. And I think having these conversations about these topics and about these ideas without pretending like they're not real or pretending like they are just, they're so politically incorrect they won't even be approached. I think what that's done in the past like 15 years or so is I think that it's alienated those people more, and it's let those ideas fester and remain unchallenged. And I think that's caused a huge conspiracy population that's way bigger than if these things were addressed directly and head on. And those people today aren't mature enough to have them. Well, if they're not mature enough to have them, then that's their problem. I don't think that it's a good idea to narrow down, like, for example, like this video. Like, I just clicked on and I watched a video of with the Nazi flag right there, Kanye West about the Holocaust, and we've had a relatively good conversation about it. Were there probably 5 or 6 people in chat that went too far and probably need to get banned? We'll figure out that shit later on. Yes, probably there are. But should I tone down the conversations on my stream because a few people are too emotionally insecure or too emotionally charged to have these conversations? No, I should not do that. I think that it's totally fine. And if some people can't control themselves, that sounds like a personal problem to me. It's not a big deal. So yeah, it would really be fine if he just critiqued capitalism from a leftist liberal POV, but he had to bring up Jewish people. Well, I think that what you're really saying is that, I see what you're saying, okay? Like, I've been to poll before. You're not going to, you're not going to finesse a good one on me, all right, guys? Like, don't try to get one of these little ones on me, and I see exactly what you're doing. I see exactly what you're saying, okay? Getting real soy in here. Yeah, I'm not a believer in the Jewish question. I think it's silly, to be honest with you. You agree with what he's saying, that you can go on saying fuck white people, but the moment you touch a Jew, you're anti-Semitic? I don't know. I don't think Kanye West has gone around and said fuck white people at all. He hasn't said that at all. I think if somebody went out and they did say that, I feel like a lot of people would dislike them. Yeah, he the opposite. Yeah, it was the White Lives Matter thing. So yeah, I think this is, I understand you're trying to imply the Voltaire quote, right? To see who rules over you, decide and figure out who you can't criticize. I understand. I see the train tracks you're laying here, okay, and where these are going. You're not going to fool me here. You're not going to trick me into this. Just please stop it. So yes, I think that it's universally disliked by anybody. Fake quote? Was it a fake quote? I don't know if it is. I never heard that it was fake. Yeah. I don't think it's fake. I've never heard that. Is it really? Well, it's a great fake quote. I'll tell you that. It's a great fake quote. Jordan Peterson videos, infinite content. Yeah, maybe I'll watch some of that stuff. I like talking about this stuff. I find it very interesting. You're telling me I'm being oppressed by children with leukemia? I don't know. I think plenty of people make cancer kid jokes. Like, I'm going to be totally fucking honest with you. So, yeah. Anyway, should debate Sneeko on the JQ. Yeah, I don't really think I care about it that much, man. Like, the thing is, to me, is like, especially, and this is with like all of the global conspiracies, like the global conspiracy to turn everybody gay, the global conspiracy to make everybody eat bugs and own nothing, the global conspiracy that like Jews control everything. I find these not to be actionable ideas, and that's why I don't really care about them, because I don't think that knowing this or believing this or not believing it is going to have any impact on the way that I live my life. So I try to only care about things, and Earth is flat is the same thing. Like, if the Earth is round, the Earth is flat, I don't really care either way. I think that it matters to me things that I think are actionable and conversations that can be had that can lead to a change in some sort of a way. Does that make sense? Watch Jordan Peterson and Kanye West. Yeah, maybe if people want to link me videos, I can look at them. I like watching shorter videos like this with like 1 point rather than like a super long video. Just keep that in mind. Have you never heard of the World Economic Forum? They're accomplishing their goals as you talk. Yeah. Klaus Schwab, that's the, yeah. I know all about this. Agenda 22, all of this stuff. I know, not only do I know about it, but I probably know more than you know about it. Just because I know a lot about this stuff doesn't necessarily mean that I believe it. Yeah, my mom watched Alex Jones back whenever he was on at public access. I live in Austin. So yeah, I absolutely, like, I love knowing crazy stuff about people on the internet, right? Because I feel like every crazy thing that people believe, I think that it's not always, while usually they're bullshit, they represent a part of human psychology that is interesting. Like, for example, like, how many types of like religion myths start with a virgin birth? Jesus is not the only one. So I think that things like that show there's like a commonality in the mind of people. And that's what I find to be very interesting. And I think conspiracy theories are the same thing. Conspiracy theories generally center around sociological insecurities, often informed by economics, politics, or war. Yeah, it depends. And a bunch of ancients coping. I don't know about that, man. And people hating on Kanye is just the internet these days. Well, I don't think it's people hating on them, right? I think that in general, and this is kind of what I said before, is that whenever you categorize a group of people and you're like, oh, this is the Jewish media or something like that, there are individual people in the media that are Jewish, right? But what you do is you categorize them as a collective, and what doing that does is it dehumanizes the individual. It now takes, this person, their name, and you have this with police officers that get dehumanized like this. You have it with black people, white people, men, women. This happens with everybody, right? And whenever you take those stereotypes and you apply these stereotypes and these types of insecurities onto another person, what you really do is you dehumanize them. You're making them a statistic. Yes, exactly. And so that's why I think that just in general, doing that is a bad thing. Yeah, generalizations. Yeah, it's fundamentally dehumanizing. We'll watch this one, and then I was going to watch probably just a couple other things. He's dehumanizing people without $1 billion by not dealing with his mental health. Yeah, this is like, I mean, I'm not a professional psychologist, so I don't really feel like I'm doing a bad thing, but I kind of am. I find it to be a little bit the way that, like, I feel like he gets almost elated, like really, really happy in this conversation. I find this outside of the range of normal human emotions in the way that he did in this interview, and it made me a little bit uneasy, and it makes me think that there's something that's not right. I don't know if you guys noticed that, But that's like, and like I have no basis for this other than just my own personal, experiences. I could just be completely full of shit whenever I'm saying this. But yes, it did give me pause. Anyway, let's go ahead and watch the other one. I'll watch this whole interview or this whole podcast probably sometime this week. Here we go.
You don't hold accountability to my pain. You're being a Karen.
I'm talking
You
about.
don't
I'm
hold
talking. I'm not a
accountability
Karen.
to
and
the
I'm,
pain.
I'm not a Karen, and I'm not going to cancel you, and I'm not going to uncensor you. I'm simply going to challenge you on what you're saying.
You can't.
I think you
can't
don't
cancel me.
understand the pain that you've been causing with some of these comments, and I think that one in particular, I can understand.
Oh my God. God forbid one comment could cause people to feel any of the pain that my people have went through for years. Even
I
like,
think you could say that with anybody, right? I mean, like, the thing is, my people have, a lot of people have been through pain, right? I mean, again, I think that's like what he's doing now is, I think this is kind of, again, dehumanizing people, right? It's like, oh, well, you're not allowed to feel that way. You're not like this because, it's like oppression Olympics, it's like, well, I've had this problem, or, my people have had this problem, so your problem isn't important, or your personal struggles are not important. So yeah, I'm not a fan of this.
the blacks being ushered to the left during the civil rights movement. No
Why-
one has cared
why does
about
he-
black
why does he-
people.
okay, why
no,
does-
no,
all right.
No one is.
Let me say, I agree that the racism against black people has been utterly deplorable, shameful, unacceptable, and thank God the world is beginning to move to a better place
Yeah,
about the
and
way
everybody-
it has treated
okay,
black
what
people
about-
like you. However,
It's-
one form of racism here
No,
doesn't
it's
justify...
almost in a better place.
Well,
But you
one
see,
form of
the way
racism
you're
doesn't
cutting me
justify
off
another.
It's not a better
I'm
place.
not cutting you off. I'm finishing my sentence so you can respond. One
It's
form
not-
of racism...
it's not
one form of
racism.
it is racism
Of course, what do you mean?
when you say I'm going DEF CON for
clarify the
Jewish
truth.
people.
I was in a position where I've been hurt, and this is the way I had the right to express.
Is he making the argument that it's not racism because being a Jew is a religious choice? I'm not sure exactly where we're going with this.
myself. The point of this interview is for you to question me and then for me to answer and say, okay, even though the same rules are not applied to my people, if a person with a gun or drugs is pulled over and has three other people in the car, they're all going to jail. I'm not going to apply that to Jewish people for the sake of this conversation.
What?
Isn't that what you wanted? But you know what you did? You tried to civil rights me. You tried to pull me back to a week ago, but we're here today. There's been plenty of conversations and commentary since that.
I like how they just cut the full screen. They're like, okay, yeah, this is going to go on for a while. All right, let's go.
But you want me to go back to 1960.
No. Here's
you
what
want me to go back to 7 days ago.
All right, let me jump in.
Context. Yeah, we'll
Here's
watch
what I
the
want you to
whole
do. I want you to reflect.
Okay, so have we grown? Have we grown?
Here's how we
Have
grow. Yeah, here's how we grow. I want you to
No,
reflect.
have we grown?
I'm about
have
to-
we grown?
I'm
You're
about-
not in charge of my growth. You're not in charge of
I'm
my
about
growth,
to.
Chris.
Okay,
But
let me
we
phrase
grow.
it like this. I'm about to suggest to you how you may grow if you choose to grow this way. And you
Why?
can ignore
No,
me. You
Piers,
can ignore me.
Piers, how much money are you worth?
Not as much as you, sadly.
Exactly. So take my advice. Maybe we'll get richer.
I would love to take your business advice.
Why would I listen to you?
Well, why don't you hear what my advice is and then work out if I'm wrong? Can we do that deal?
I like how he paused and he was like, oh, I got his ass. Yeah, he's like, oh, I got his ass right there. He's like, wait a minute.
Well, the thing is, you haven't given me any credit or a moment of reflection for the comparison that I made, the brilliant, if I do say so myself, comparison that I made to the cops pulling over one black person and locking
I
everyone
understand
up.
what you're
and my
saying.
tweet having issues. Wait a second, I wasn't done with the sentence.
But I feel like that's kind of different, right? Because, like, if you're born a Jew, you're not in the same car as another Jew. Like, you just got, that's just your last name. What the hell did you do that for? What the fuck is he talking about?
la, 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 my tweet referring to all Jewish people. And I said, for the sake
And
of
by the way, I think that pulling somebody over and everybody else going to jail for something like drugs is probably bullshit too. I think they're both bullshit.
this conversation, I will refer to the business people who have destroyed me and my people and my fellow creatives. But you didn't even accept that I gave you that. You tried to put...
Of course people not going to accept that he gave you that. I think that, listen, if Kanye West had come out and he had said, listen, the record industry is absolutely fucking corrupt. It's full of pieces of shit. These people are money-sucking vampires, and I hate them. Everybody would be like, true, Kanye. Talk your shit. I think the only problem that people have is these saying that it's a bunch of fucking Jews. Because I guarantee you, everybody in the record industry isn't a fucking Jew. It's not every single one of them. I bet there's plenty of assholes that are just regular white people, and there could be black ones and Asian guys too. Being an asshole is not a fucking specific thing.
Push me back into 1960.
No, I
you
didn't.
tried to push me back into last week.
No, I didn't.
Okay,
I
do you accept that example that I gave you?
I understand completely the example you gave me. I think all race...
90%, everybody says 90%. No, 90% of the record industry is Jewish people. What would you say? I find this to be, this is the same logic that people use, that the government is fundamentally racist and they hate a certain group of people, whether it's black people or whatever, because a lot of the people that are in the Senate, let's say, are white. Do you think, that one's bullshit? Okay, yeah. Like, I don't see, how is this, how are these two things not comparable?
Racism is wrong.
So I feel that we've grown.
I would
It's the
like
same
you
argument,
to
yeah.
reflect.
I feel that we've grown.
If
Do you feel we've grown?
If you've now changed what you wanted to say.
Oh, here's another one. How about this? Out of the top 100 streamers, I bet over 90 of them are guys. Over 90. Does that mean that Twitch has something against women? Does Twitch as a platform have something against women? I think the community does, for sure. But I don't think that the platform itself does. Yeah, some of the users absolutely do. I'm just saying, like, I think that you could apply this same logic to, oh, there's a large percentage of people that are part of this group that think this. I don't understand that. Try some of the dumbest motherfuckers. It's because I don't have a problem indulging opinions that I think are silly. You know, like, I think this is, again, it's a silly opinion. Because a lot of times, like, other streamers will ban them for these opinions. There are some opinions I'll ban people for sure. Especially some shit that's, like, really off the wall or, like, call to action type shit. But overall, if somebody has a dumb opinion, I will listen to it. You an NPC now, bro? No, I'm actually not. I think that there's a lot of people that think that being suspicious of Jewish people and not drinking water with fluoride somehow makes them not an NPC. What happens if you're just on another faction of NPCs? You ever thought about that?
Say originally, my question for you is, do you now regret saying
I
death
update
gone
every
free
day.
on Jewish
I update-
people? Are you sorry you said that?
No.
I think it matters. You should be.
Absolutely not. You know, I will say I'm sorry for the people that I hurt with the DEF CON, the confusion that I call. I feel like I call.
He's saying confusion because he's implying that what he said was not wrong, and the confusion is that he's implying that he didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, this is a jump cut. No, obviously the interview, this was clearly a jump cut, and if we learned anything from the Andrew Tate interview, we learned that the cut versions of these videos make Piers look a lot better than what he usually does in the actual interview, and we're going to watch the whole thing. However, I do think that by using that language, it does very clearly indicate that he's trying to compartmentalize the effect of what he said.
Hurt and confusion. And I'm sorry for the families of the people that had nothing to do with the trauma that I had been through and that I use my platform where you say hurt people. And I was hurt. Yeah.
It's an uncensored interview. You said something which you've now wished you hadn't said, and you've apologized. I actually think that says a lot about you, right? That shows you've got that ability to be self-aware, to understand when you cross a line. I think someone like you, with all your energy and creativity and your passion, you're going to say stuff. The way that you talk constantly and in such an extraordinary manner, you're going to trip up. You're going to say things the wrong way. I don't think there's anything wrong in when you do that, doing what you just did. And saying, like,
yeah, I think this is kind of what I use the argument whenever I think like Quinn with like the turban comment or something like that is like, yeah, people are going to say things that are off color, sometimes accidentally. I don't think it's a big deal. Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal, right? I mean, sometimes people just accidentally say something in a way that they don't mean to, or whatever, right? It's not a big deal. I don't like the idea in society that somebody can do something. Like, obviously, at a certain point, a pattern of behavior is very clear. However, everybody makes mistakes, and everybody says things they don't mean to say. Everybody accidentally, says something in a different way than what they meant. It's not that big of a deal. I don't like the idea online where people are interpreted for what they are saying and in the worst possible way, and then people use that as a justification to attack them in the worst possible way because they think that the person said it for that reason. I hate that, man. Absolutely fucking hate it.
I'm sorry, I crossed a line. I apologize.
I want to say that it's wrong to hold an apology hostage, and I got to let go of that and free myself of the trauma and say, look, I'm just going to give it all up to God right now and say to those.
Yeah, I think that, especially kind of like Kanye feels like he was wronged by the record industry, right? He was wronged by them or wronged by people that are involved in music, etc. And I think this is a parallel to this that I could draw is that women who are in a relationship with like a guy and then the guy is abusive or he cheats on her or all of the above or something else, right? This guy's a piece of shit, basically. And then she goes out and she's like, oh, men are trash. It's like, get fucking stop bringing your personal trauma into other people's lives. Men are not trash. That guy was trash. That guy was a piece of shit. Yeah, I think this is kind of the same thing. It's projecting. Well, I think that's what it is. I don't like
families that are hurt. I really want to give you guys a big hug, and I want to. I say I'm sorry for hurting you with my comments, and I want to word it in not in like a political way, but in a presidential way, which means what I knew a president to be when I was growing up.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think these interviews are going to be really good. Yeah, I'm really excited to watch this whole thing. This is master interviewing. Yeah, I thought this one was really, really good. This guy did a great job interviewing him. I'm very excited to see this. Yee for president 2024. I mean, I think that there is a good I think that there is an above 50% chance that we will see a serious run for president by Kanye West in our lifetime. I think that there is at least a 20% chance. And I'm not talking about him running for 3 days and then disappearing. I'm talking about him being at the debates, him having people voting for him, him, at Fox News or CNN, they're walking around at the political rallies and they're holding the microphone up to some 55-year-old lady and she's got her church group t-shirt on and she says, I'm for ye. I can see that. Yeah, ye's got my vote. There it is. What did you guys think about this? Yeah, what did you guys think about it? I'm actually kind of curious about both of them. Lex is an incredible podcaster. Yeah, he is. I was really impressed by that clip. Could you do Piers first? Yeah, I'm going to do the Piers Morgan one first because that's what happened chronologically. You can have his opinion. He's Jewish, and no one's going to anti-Semite him. Well, yeah. I think that's an intentional misunderstanding. Piers is a scumbag who's part of the COVID cult, said some very nasty things about people. I don't care about Piers. I don't really care. Like, this might be kind of like a weird position to have, is I don't really care about people. I only really care about ideas, because ideas transcend people. So, like, it doesn't really matter, like, who's saying something to me. It's like, if something is true, then it's true, and that's it. And so I don't really, like, this is why, like, for example, if somebody is saying something and I don't like the person, I can still listen to them. Yeah, I don't, I'm not, you're missing the point. Yeah, I don't care about Piers Morgan's opinions on COVID. Cares. Let's see here. I'll read a few more comments. Pretty disgusted by use. My mind's getting in trouble. If I go into detail why, I say what he's doing right now sucks right now. I hope he stops soon. Well, we'll see what happens, right? Got that saying on our wall. You're actually getting old. Yeah, maybe you're right, man. Maybe you're fucking right. The problem is Kanye seems to be really lost since his mom died. Anybody can make him believe anything. Well, I don't know about that. I think there's a lot of people that are in this position. Think about how many people that are like Kanye West that believe the exact same stuff that he does, and they never had some massive traumatic event like that in their life. Maybe. I mean, I think everybody has traumatic events, but I feel like the amount of fucking media attention, like, this is like, I mean, there's few people in the world that have had it like him. So yeah, I don't think that it has anything to do specifically with that, or getting to this point you don't need a traumatic event like this. And I think that the amount of other people that are like this kind of proves that. I'll read a few more comments and then we'll move on. I don't mind the clips, however, he's thinking in the 18th dimension. He's making some very wild logical leaps. Yeah, I think so too. I'm not a fan of a lot of the things that he's saying here. I can respect, like, especially like the abortion thing, for example. Like, I've always been pro-choice. I've been pro-choice my whole life. I'm still pro-choice, and I probably always will be. I also think abortion is fucking medieval, and it's a horrible thing, but people should still be able to do it. However, I can respect somebody who's not pro-choice. I respect their opinion. I think that's fine, right? Somebody can have that opinion. Elon Musk got better impact than Kanye as president. Well, I don't think Elon Musk is going to be president. He wasn't born in America. As far as I know, traumatic events are far more common than you think. Yeah, no, I think so too. Broken clocks are right twice a day. Yeah, I think that's true. Do you respect children's right to gamble on gotcha games? Well, it depends on if the parents are okay with it. He's obviously disconnected from the reality, most of us know. I'm not sure why his opinion holds any weight to a lot of people. I think that if you really look at a lot of people, most people's life is disconnected from most other people's lives. Like, for example, the way a cashier at Walmart lives their life is vastly and completely different than the way the majority of people live their life in society. And I think also in another way, the way that let's say a doctor lives their life is vastly different and completely, not the majority of people's lives. So I think that every time that you try to invalidate somebody's opinion by saying that, oh, well, this person doesn't go through the lived experiences of most people, I would say nobody goes through the lived experiences of most people, because everybody's fucking different. So I think this is just really an argument to his accountability or his authority, right, as a celebrity, which I think you can say that's true in some circumstances, but I don't think this is one of them. You ever feel weirded out how fast your way of thinking changes as you get richer or your circumstances change? I don't think that my way of thinking has changed at all, really. I think that if you go back and you listen to the way that I've like said things 5 years ago, 10 years ago, etc., I think that it's relatively the same. Obviously, I've changed some things that I've thought based off of how things have evolved, etc., context change, etc. And I'm curious to know what are these opinions that I've had that have changed. I think some of my opinions in WoW have changed over just seeing different things happen in the game. But I think that you could argue that also opinions are circumstantial around the current situation. And an opinion that you have that it's like you don't put a raincoat on if it's going to rain in 5 years. You changed your opinion about Classic? That one I remember. No, I don't think I really changed my opinion about Classic. I remember back whenever a Classic was coming out and I said that I was only going to play the game for 3 months and I was going to use it for content, maybe like casual content after that. A lot of people got angry with me on that. You can even go back and look at my Reddit account and check my history and you'll see that exact post. So I don't think that's true at all. Yeah, a lot of people don't really... I think that people intentionally try to misunderstand what I'm saying because they want to discredit what I'm saying. That's it. Yeah, opinions are allowed to change based on information. Yeah, exactly. Like whenever I learn more things or I know something different, then I try to change my opinion on it. You become a moderate, but you don't really shit on left-wing nutbags? I've become a moderate. What did you think I was before? And this is... I'm actually really curious about this. So, like, this is the kind of stuff that I'm saying. What do you what did you think that I was? Yeah, I'm actually really curious. Yeah, what is this? You're a lefty, to be honest. I have I mean, you could say I'm a leftist in some things. Let's see here. But not in others, right? And this is also not something that I have become. I think you guys have to remember that I was registered and I was like supporting Planned Parenthood whenever I was 19. It was one of the first things that I tried to do coming out of high school. And it was not just that, it was like a handful of other things like climate change stuff as well. I'm a big believer in climate change. I'm sorry to say, it was one of the main reasons I was very happy about Bernie Sanders whenever he said the biggest threat to our country is climate change. I was like, yeah, true. Very true. Let's see here. Yeah, looks like we're not actually getting a response. Maybe we're not. I have no idea. No, it's not. I don't know, man. Like, this is my logic, right? My logic is that, you smoke a cigarette inside a house, you can look at my walls, right? A lot of my walls are yellow. That's because my mom smoked inside for her whole life. There are cities that are polluted. There are places in China that if you live there, just going out, and the air itself is like smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. They are still wearing masks, and they were wearing them before COVID. The idea that this cannot happen on a larger scale is naive. Absolutely fucking naive. Yeah, California everywhere. Yeah, it's just crazy. Let's see here. Did this person give a response or anything like that? Let me see here. If they didn't, I'll just go ahead and move on. No, he's not really responding because usually whenever people have an opinion like this and they get called out on it, they don't really have there's no real reasoning behind it. You know what I mean? It's just something that they feel. Regarding your comment about the women who say men are trash, it's because, even though you said that replacing humans by stats is bad, when you look it up, you see that 85% of women in heterosexual abuse experience physical, mental abuse. It's not just their one personal trauma. By the way, I disagree with those whole men are trash. Well, here's the thing, though, is that even if it's 85% of men, that still means that there are hundreds of millions of men who are not like that. And is it fair to that remaining 15% of men for you to categorize every single one of them as being trash or an abuser? No, it's not, because they're not responsible for that person and they have no accountability to them. So I don't care if it's 99%. Even if it is 99%, how many 1% mounts do I have? Okay? Like, that's the way I've always looked at things. 99% is still fucking too low to categorize everybody as being like this. It's a defense mechanism. Yeah, I think it is. It's a tribalistic defense mechanism. The court case of Darnell Brooks, the guy who drove a car through a parade last year. No, I didn't see that. I don't even remember what that was. I think that was like, was that I think there was like, I remember there was the Charlottesville guy that drove the car through the grenade. Then there was like this like crazy black guy that did the same thing. I don't remember which one is which. I have no fucking idea. Killed like 6 kids. Darnell Brooks. That's Darnell. Oh, what a piece of shit. It's terrified. I'll say some dumb shit. Asmongold put me on the spot. I'm a good chatter, I swear. Yeah. What do you think about people shitting on media platforms like TikTok and Facebook? Aren't they just catering to what people want? I think that shitting on different media platforms isn't necessarily a good or a bad thing. I think it depends on what the media is that you're shitting on. So, like, for example, I don't think that TikTok is in any way, shape, or form an inferior media platform than Facebook. Is TikTok going to give you better or worse news than CNN? I bet it's probably a mixed bag. I think one of the best things with everybody having their own smartphone and shit like that is that you can have the media that paints some type of a story, and then you have 30 other people that recorded it differently happening, and then they post their videos, and it turns out the media was fucking lying. I remember this happened to this one fucking dude. So there was this guy, and he was this happened in, like, I think 2011, 2012, and this guy was running away from a police officer, and he got shot in the back 5 fucking times. And then the police officer said, like, oh, well, this guy was resisting arrest, he was dangerous, etc. And then somebody fucking posted a video, and then the news posted the story, and then somebody posted a video of the guy running away and the police shooting him. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, media believes police. Well, it did then. I mean, this is 10 years ago. Who knows what's changed since then? It could just be a mistake. But the point that I'm making here is that it's really great that everybody has cameras now. So I think that in that instance, I think TikTok would be a very good, useful media source. So I don't think that media sources are bad because of the name that they're behind. I think they're bad based off of the agenda that they're behind. Yeah, you can change who you feed by following on a platform. Yes, I think so. Having a kid with the kid and the American Indian and CNN. Oh yeah, fucking Sandman, right? And then he got a settlement from CNN. Yeah. Goes down to this one. Who has the money and the power, make you believe anything they want to tell you, and then that's because they have the power. Well, I don't really think that's true because people believe all kinds of different things. Nobody believes any one thing. So if people with all the money and the power can make everybody think one thing, they're certainly doing a bad job at it. So I think that's just very, very, like, silly thing to say. He had a taser. Video someone else recorded showed empty hands and a cop tossing the taser next to the body. I don't remember exactly. Media always prioritizes police version first. I think that's generally okay. I think that if that is a problem in general, then you should probably, like, I don't find it to be a productive thing to just automatically assume that the police are lying and are out for blood. I don't find this to be productive for society or good for anybody. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Check out the Darnell stuff on YouTube. Claimed sovereignty and to represent himself, the judge has to remove him from the courtroom every day. Holy shit. Wow, it's too bad I don't get to watch that one on my mainstream. I should do the same thing. Yeah, holy shit. Pattern recognition is racist. I think that you could say that with a lot of things. Like, it's easy for you to say that pattern recognition is racist and imply what I know that you're implying, but I think that people can do the exact same thing to you and you'll start getting angry about it. So maybe pattern recognition is just bad.